I was thinking, because children sometimes, when they're stuck in this lifestyle, because they don't know any different, and the parents don't know any different, and they don't know how to, what is a goal? What is a goal? Like, is they're stuck on survival. A lot of times kids are on survival. Their families are barely able to make ends meet. I remember one time you had asked me, it was like 7, 8, 9 years ago, you asked me, what's your goal? What's your plan? And I had no idea what my plan was, because I was on survival mode at that time. And it took like a while for things to clear out, and there was a book that I read, Wherever You Go, There You Are. Yeah. That one, and then another one, The Power of Now. And one of the things I got out of one of those two books, I'm not sure which book it is, but one of the sentences in it said, are you patient enough to wait for the mud to clear? And that was like, when you asked me that question, I was like in the process of just being on survival mode, and so now I have goals, but back then I wasn't ready for goals. So a lot of times kids don't even know what goals are or how to get goals because they're on survival mode. So now it's like, having had that experience myself of not knowing what a goal is, now I get to share with families and children in meetings, what I'm doing. Like, I'll share my life. I was like, I get it. I didn't have any goals. When I was asked that question, I was like, goal? I'm just like surviving today. What do you mean a goal? And, so I share, I get it, and today, today I do Zumba dance class. Today I'm going to do a yoga teacher training class. Today I signed up for this triathlon, and I'm going to raise money for leukemia, team in training. I didn't know any of this stuff, like when I was asked that initial question, like, what is your goal? What is your plan? I didn't know until it was like, until I was past the survival mode, because you have to but planting seeds in them, say anything is possible when you put your mind to it. I went to Ireland. I didn't plan that. It just kind of, fell in my path. My friend was going, said he was going to go. And so I just shared, my experience that, I get it. I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a plan. But today I'm a runner. I'm a dancer, I'm a yogi, I'm a mother, I'm a child of God, I'm sober, and so I mean, none of that was planned, and it wasn't a goal. It just is the way it is. And so, like, I just plant these seeds as anything is possible. I get to work with families who have at-risk youth. I get to, get in the hole with them when we find the light together, and I don't have the answers. So I just kind of, put some seeds of, hope in them and share, my experience, because I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a plan. And so I get it. And sometimes they're just seeing through it's like tunnel vision. They just see through a straw. And then when you share your experience, it kind of opens up their mind's eye to, wow, what do I like? So what is important to me? Right. What do I like? And you just start with a list, like, what's important to me? Maybe listening to somebody else or asking somebody else, what do you like to do? Then you get ideas. Wow, let me try that. Maybe I'll like that too. No. So.
Yeah, it's powerful, because I want to back up a bit. You said a lot of great things there, and the one thing that resonates amongst all these great things you just said was survival mode. And I hadn't considered that when somebody comes to me, someone that I would define as, gosh, this person's at risk. Okay, I have to realize that they might be in survival mode. So I have to help them there. And I love the fact that you use this analogy that you get in the hole with them and you help them find the light. But I have to be aware of this, and it's a lesson I just learned amongst many lessons you just shared with me, that I have to say to myself, they might be in survival mode right now. Let me help them to see that they will survive, that they're going to get through this. They're not alone. And once they put their guards down, say, you know what, I'm surviving. Now that I'm surviving and I can see that I can survive, what can I do now? What more? What's next? When I realize that I will survive this. And that's powerful. And, I thank you for sharing that. I had never thought about that. And I think then at that point, then you start realizing, okay, what's next? The next is, okay, let me see what's important to me. Or let me see what people are doing out there that, wow, that's great. I can maybe see myself doing. And what I tell people is you start uncovering and discovering who you are and what's going to be on your path. And like you going to Ireland, you didn't plan that. It was uncovered and discovered and realized. And that's what life is. And God's great for doing that. So here's a surprise. You've prepared for such a day as this. And I love that. But thank you for sharing that. And I think that goal setting is very important. But I think what comes before the goal setting has to be, realizing, okay, I'm surviving now. Let me get out of survival mode. And now let's start creating a vision. Let's start creating, where I want to go. And it's important that people realize that, especially when we're working with, initially working with someone that's just, that's new for us as a relationship, and we're meeting them. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah, I know. I made a vision board about 5 years ago, and so I will share my vision board with people every now and again because they don't know how to make a vision board or what their vision might be. So I'll share my very first vision board with them, and I have, stuff like, hope, one day at a time, peace, monogamy, love, heals, and all kinds of different words that I wanted, to just come into fruition. And that vision board has come into fruition. And so I've made another vision board, and that's my travel vision board. And so, like, whatever I envision, I can make it come into fruition. And I have a prayer space. Actually, I'm in my prayer space right now, and I would take my camera to show you even more. I'm sitting on my little prayer pillow right now, that usually in my prayer space, and I have all kinds of little things in there, and it's whenever I bring people over, I have these potlucks, and I show people my place, and they're like, wow, I've burnt sage in there, and I burnt frankincense and myrrh, and it's a really holy space, and I have all these different idols from different religions that I like and honor, and so.
Yeah. I mean, I love it because in a holy place is something that's been set apart. Yeah.
Yes.
Something set apart, and that's where you go. And when you were talking, we're probably going around a bit, but we're all talking about goal setting. But I remember when you were sharing about survival mode and goal setting and looking through that straw. I remember when my mind was opened up to the possibilities. And I remember in New York City. And I don't know what you were doing around this time. I know what I was going through. I was living the streets and dealing with the gang situation, and I got to a situation where I had to get out of New York, and I just got really violent, and it was a matter of life and death for me. That's just how I perceived it, and I'm sure that wasn't too far from the truth. But I had to get out of New York, and up until that point, I thought the whole world was tenements, projects, gangs. I thought the whole world was like that. And I remember going down to Port Authority, getting on the bus, to go to Florida, to live with Loretta, our older sister, and I remember getting on that bus, and it took 2 hours for that bus to get out of New York City, go through the Lincoln Tunnel, go through Newark, through all that stuff. It took 2 hours. And I remember sitting on that bus with this, I was depressed. I was, gosh, I had no hope, and I didn't know. This was my desperation to get out. And I remember on that bus saying that it's nothing better than this. I mean, what am I going to find? More tenements. I just want to live. And I remember still on that bus 2 hours convinced that the whole world was projects. The whole world was gang violence. And I remember after 2 years, 2 hours, once I got past Newark, because matter of fact, when I got through the Lincoln Tunnel and I came out, I was convinced that the world was worse than I thought because of the smell of Newark. No disrespect to anyone, all my friends that live in Newark. But after the 2 hours, it was 32 hours of a bus ride to get to Florida. After 2 hours, it was 30 hours of my mind blown, being opened up to what was out there. And I believe this was God's way, was planting a seed in me about traveling, and seeing out there. And I'll never forget the lesson I learned there, that my mind was so blown away. I was looking through that little straw, and then when for 2 hours, for my whole life, up until that moment when 30 hours it opened up, and I met people on that bus, and I went to, and it was incredible. I was so blown away. Now, it took 2 years for what I call the animal to get out of me. Once I got down to Loretta, You know, I was an animal for 2 because I had my colors from the gang and I had my afro. It took 2 years for that animal to get out of me. That I started then.
How old were you?
I had just turned. I believe I had just had my. It was in the May. I had just turned 16, I believe, or something like that.
Wow.
You know, and but I'll never forget that. And so, but that was then my growth, uncovering and discovering who I was and what I was unfolding to be.
And then there's discarding who you were. This
Yes.
uncover, discover, discard.
Okay, say that again.
Uncover, discover, discard.
Yeah, I love it, and you know that's exactly what happened. And so now I am becoming more and more every single day this man that I've been created to be. But I mean, going back to goal setting. It starts with a vision. It starts with knowing where you are. If you're in survival mode, understand that, and then as soon as possible, it's so important to start setting goals, setting steps, and action plans.
How are we going to get out of survival mode? That would be the first goal.
There we go. Yeah. Exactly. So let's go ahead and give a list. If we had a list of steps that one might take, that's extremely flexible. But what would those steps be? Someone comes to you, they're obviously, more often than not, they're in survival mode.
Right.
Well,
my first thing are you eating? Have you eaten yet? Basics.
Wow.
The basics. How are you sleeping? You know, do you have people that you can go to, that you can share, your struggles with? Safe go-to people,
right.
Because they're real, right?
Right.
And, starting out with the foundation, the hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. The basics,
right.
Taking care of those basics right there. So that's the most important. That was like, from my experience, that's how it was. I had to focus on the basics and just put one foot in front of the other, and then trusted and had faith that it was going to get better. It's going to get better. And surrounding myself with positive people, and so that was, really important. So does that help?
Well, that's great, because then you're talking, somebody comes to you, they're in survival mode. Okay, find out where they are there and find out what's available to them, like the people, the resources, and then that gives you an indication. Okay, where's the first priority? What's our priority? If they haven't eaten, we got to get them to eat. They got to get healthy. Because without a healthy body, healthy mind, you're not going to have the wherewithal to fight the good fight that you need to fight to get out of where you're surviving.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just starts with the basics, how do you get food? And then just, finding out, where their income's coming from, or, you know what I mean? Just the basics like that, and helping them to just get on their feet with that all, whatever that is.
Right. Now, let's talk about, some of the resources that people have available. I know in my neck of the woods here in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, we have access to, you mentioned it also, the religious organizations that have access to food. We have an organization here that has incredible fresh food, fresh vegetables, and they have the canned goods, and I'm into health, so I don't really support that, and I have, but this one organization actually gives fresh vegetables and fruit and meats.
Wow.
And so that's a resource that I have for someone that's not eating. Okay, and I have access to churches and organizations that have available personal trainers that would train them for free, to get them in shape for free. So what are some resources that you have in California that can help and serve the people that you'll meet?
There are food banks out here, and usually they're ebb and flow, because sometimes they go out of business because of lack of funding. So. Right. It always changes. I use Google a lot. I like Google or ask.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to use food banks, and there's this one place that I like to go to for meditation called Agape. They have meditations every day at 12 noon. There's a lot of labyrinths around, and labyrinths are walking meditations. I've been doing that. I've done that with some of the families that I've worked with. There's a labyrinth. It's on my neighborhood. There's this one, the very first one I went to. It's on Crenshaw and Adams, and it's funny because it's in the middle of a really bad neighborhood, and it's this sanctuary in the middle of
Wow.
like where there's gunshots and helicopters at times,
Right.
you know, and so it's called the jungle over there.
Wow.
Whereas the Bloods and the Crips go.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I go there, and I've taken people there, and they love it. You know, they have meditation gardens there and stuff, and there's a lot of other places like that. But then another resource is the NAMI, which I'm not sure if that's I think that might be global. NAMI is National Association for Mental Illness. You know, that's support groups for families who are dealing with kids or themselves who have mental illness, whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, mood disorder, you know, whatever it is. You know, so there's that, and then, you know, a lot of, like, there's a D.D. Hirsch. D.D. Hirsch has, like, different groups, like, they have groups for, I've done parenting, you know, classes at D.D. Hirsch. I've done a couple of sets of them. You know, at my agency, we have a parent support group, like, every other Tuesday, and there's sober 12-step groups that'll have, you know, parenting classes for people in recovery. You know, they have another group that's for battered women. You know, they have groups for them. They have all kinds of, like, 12-step programs that are really great resources for whatever.
Everyone, thank you for listening to Mary and I. We have so much, and we can go on. And so next week, we're going to look forward to possibly having a guest to join us, and someone who has all this experience, and we'll let you guys know what that's about. And please follow us, give us your comments, like us on Facebook, and you maybe join in on the conversation through comments. If you have resources, please let us know what those resources are. And we want to encourage you to really look at the meat of what we're doing here. And if you want to contact me, find out more about the work that I'm doing in the community, please go to my website, pedroliciaga.org. You know, you can also contact Mary. I have also a website for the at-risk youth for this project called flavors.me/at-risk-youth, and you go there. And so we're going to continue to, and that's free. That's all free resources, and that's available to everyone at no cost. And so the more content we bring there, the more that we can then resource people and empower people, so that no matter where they are, whether they are educators and professionals or they're laymen like me, that we have access to this information. And so we're going to keep going. Mary, thank you so much. I love you. So look forward to talking to you next week. And
all right. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Bye-bye.
God bless. God bless you all.